Hey guys, welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter card game review. Today's game for the table is UnderLeague. UnderLeague is made by Cogwright Games. It's for 2 to 5 players and it takes about 45 minutes to play, with an additional 15 minutes per extra player you have included in the game. And then in UnderLeague, you're basically a animal wrangler deep in the underbelly, underneath the sewers, and you're getting these monster animals and you're attempting to battle them against your opponents. And in the game, your objective is to get these chits and bid on whether or not you're going to win or lose battles based on the monsters that are in the field. Not only that, but you're also going to get additional cards to change the way the battles take place, as well as equipment cards to increase or decrease the fight value of a single monster. Monsters are going to have a range of 1 to 3 attack, and you're going to be rolling your dice equal to how much attack you have, and gaining victory points to have you win the game. Once you get 20 victory points in a manner of either winning bids or winning the battles, as well as other little nifty things, how much points you have on the field, then you'll be turned the winner of the game by having those 20 points. And that's the idea of UnderLeague. Let me go ahead and show you what the game looks like and how it's set up. Alright guys, this is UnderLeague. And in UnderLeague, you're going to have 5 different player decks, which each are all the same. We'll have the same amount of creatures, and you shuffle them up, as well as your strategy decks, which are actually just a strategy deck, a full one. I'm going to set it like this, just because there's so many cards in the strategy deck. And there's different colors for each player. So if I was going to be the blue player, I would take these 5 betting chips, I would take this deck right here of creature cards, and set these dice aside that are used for battling. In the beginning of the game is the preseason, in which players will simply draw 3 cards, and look at all 3, and they'll be creatures. And they're going to place one in front of them, and the rest of them are going to be on the bottom. And everybody else is going to do that, and then you're going to do that one more time, and pick another creature. And then once again everybody does that, and picks another creature from these 3. After you do that, you set all 3 of your creatures down, and you're going to draw cards from the strategy deck equal to the number of betting chips you acquired, you owed 1 from the previous round. In the first beginning of the game, everybody draws the same amount of cards, which I believe is 5 cards, just like this. And they can be used on your turn. You can place them down behind your monster, or if it's a special ability, you can place them on another monster or do this effect. These creature cards here represent the amount of damage they do in the day and the night phase, what kind of creature it is, what its ability is, and the win and lose sections of each card. So when betting phase occurs after the preseason phase, you're simply going to be placing your bets on whether you think your creatures are going to win or whether they're going to lose. You can also place these on your opponent's creatures as well. And battling is fairly simple. You have 2 creatures out, maybe this is your opponent's deck right here and his is his monster, and you're going to say day or night based on if you're attacking. If you're attacking, you simply go ahead and tap your card, and you swing, and you roll dice based on the day or night phase. If it's night phase, you roll based on the number on the night side. If it's day, you roll on the day side. This creature's a 3/3, so no matter what, he rolls 3 dice, which will equal up to the 6-sided die, the 4, and the 3-sided. And this guy here, if he was attacking for his day, he would get 0 dice, which is an instant loss. If he was attacking during night, he would get 2 dice, which is his 6 and his 4. The first die is always the 6, the second is always the 4, and the third die is always the 3. The winner of the battle will then secure a strategy card as a victory point, as well as both cards will be tapped. However, if the main attacker does not win the battle, this defender does not get tapped, and it stays unallocated and can be used on another player's turn. So you're going to be winning battles and collecting cards per win, as well as acquiring other things via the different card strategy types. And that's the idea of how you set the game up. Okay, so after drawing cards for every successful bid you've made, whether you've chosen win or lose on your creatures or your opponents, then you go ahead and check to see if you have 3 creatures of the same type. And if you do, you draw an additional card. Then, followed by that, you get an additional action, which is to decide, not only you but everybody else, whether you would like to transfer one of your creatures or draw additional strategies. If you transfer a creature, it's fairly simple. You take your creature card from one on the table that you have, one of your 3, put it on the bottom, draw 3, just like you did in the beginning of the game, and place a new one down. However, if you don't want to do that and you like all the creatures that you've got, then you can go ahead and select a single, you can select to draw 2 strategy cards from the top of the deck. And if you do that, then just add them to your hand and keep all the creatures you have. Now also realize too, that if you do decide to remove one of your creatures, you remove every single equipment, negative and positive, from that creature. And if you want to transfer, you might have an equipment card on your creature that doesn't allow you to unless you discard cards or do something else in the game. So be aware of that. And then play proceeds, after this phase. So like we were talking about before, each player is going to get 3 creatures allocated from 3 different types. They pick one, place it down on the table, rinse and repeat for every single player until 3 cards are placed down. So you're going to have a look of 3 creatures, as well as any cards that can be placed underneath them that are equipments. Not only that, but you get cards in your hand to start the game off with, as well as cards that you gain for every victory you achieve via the betting chips. Now you can bet on your opponent's monsters to win, and if they do win, you get your betting chips back, along with your own monsters. For each betting chip you get back, in a later round you'll be able to draw cards based on the amount of betting chips you have acquired that you successfully have chosen to win the victory, whether it's not it's your own. Not only that, but all the rest of them come back at the very end, allowing you to bet 5 more times on the next round. So winning the points via the fighting is going to give you that 1 extra strategy card, which will just be used as a victory card. Once you get 20 of these, you win the game, like I said. Not only that, but also when you're drawing cards from winning, you can place one strategy card on your turn, either on an opponent's monster or play a strategy card as an action, as well as playing equipment cards. And there's tons and tons of different equipment cards in the game. And the game continues round by round as players defeat other players' monsters, and the monsters actually don't switch unless you take another action on your turn instead, which is you can actually take a monster back from the front of your table and put it on the bottom and look at the next top 3 and place it down. And that's the idea of the game. Very, very simple betting game that involves playing cards down on the table as well as betting, and then not only betting but also battling. Now remember, as an attacker, you decide what monster attacks what monster, and you tap or you use your monster, rotate it sideways, and allow your opponent to select day or night, which will select whether or not it's going to be a fair or not fair battle, because some of these monsters are better than others in certain ways and worse in others. Let me go ahead and show you about some of the cards and how they're different. Okay, so for example, here's some creatures from one of the decks. This one's a Bladed Harpy. Now, none of the art is done on the cards per se, but there's some beautiful artwork, which I will show you up above, and you can see the different kinds of artwork for the different creatures. I'll just go ahead and talk about a couple of these. This is a 3/2, 3-day, 2-night, and it has a +1 increased total for its combat by 1 for every equipment card attached to it, which makes it a nice monster. The Gigantoraptor. When this creature wins a fight, you may look at a random one of your victory cards, and you may either put it back, or exchange it with a card from your hand. Another cool monster. A Rust Elemental, 1 and 2. Construct. When you play an equipment on a creature that already has an equipment attached to it, that creature's owner must transfer it. If that creature is committed, commit its replacement. And Tentacruel Troll. When this creature wins a fight, you may choose an uncommitted creature. This creature becomes committed. So that's kind of cool too. And committing creatures means the creatures aren't usable after this rest. You can't use it after it's been committed. How about the Ugger's Raven? When this creature wins a fight, you may discard up to 2 strategy cards, then draw cards equal to the number you discarded this way. Very, very useful. Tons of stuff. Let's go ahead and check out some of the strategy cards as well. This is a Scheme. It's an Objection. Now, strategy cards are funny because you can play them, and it's going to be based on the amount of cards you can discard from your hand. So the cost is cards to play the cards in your hand. This guy costs 0 cards from your hand, and when you may only play this card after each player has announced which die, if any, they're going to re-roll. And re-rolling takes place depending on what kind of monster it is or what cards they play. But before they have re-rolled, you may re-roll an additional die this turn. Pretty useful. Let's go ahead and see a bigger one. Out of Action. Choose an opponent and have their opponent's uncommitted creature. Transfer that creature, and you may choose its replacement. That's nice. Here's some equipment cards. Equipment, Lead Bracers. This creature's owner cannot transfer it during the preseason phase unless he or she discards 2 strategy cards. So before pre-combat, if you don't want the creature anymore, the owner won't be able to transfer it unless they discard 2 cards from their hand, which is painful. And when you get rid of a creature, if you transfer your creature, you lose all the equipment attached to it. The bottom here represents the amount of victory points you have throughout the game. So this included in your 20 amount of points you need to win the game. This is a -1, which means you don't all play on your monsters, only on your opponent's monsters. Lead Bracers. Here's a Prong Collar, another negative effect. After this creature's combat die have been rolled, its combat total is reduced by 2. So if it rolled an 8, it's actually a 6. Also -1 to your victory point total. Let's see a good one here, a good equipment. Can find a good one. There's 200 and something cards in your here. Super shiny trinkets. Cost 1, put on your creature. It's the 1 card you can use for your turn. Gives you +2 for your victory point total. As soon as you acquire those 20 points, finish the round, and if you are the only person to have those amount of points, you win the game, and that's the end of the game basically. That's how you play UnderLeague by Cogwright Games, a really unique betting style game. Alright, so what do I think of UnderLeague? Well, first of all, UnderLeague is a really unique and interesting game. Now, as for what is displayed, obviously I have the prototype, so I'm missing a lot of the art, and there is a ton of really great art in this game. The cards are actually going to be larger size, so it's going to be nice as well. These little tokens here that are considered your betting tokens, which you see in pretty much any game, they're actually going to be poker chip style, so when you're betting, it's going to be like actually betting chips. Interesting use of the die. You have the 6-sided die, which is common, the 4, which is pretty common, and then the 3-sided die, which is pretty interesting. So even though you have 3 dice to roll compared to your opponent's 2, it's only an extra 3 points. So you technically have a decent chance of winning even a 2 versus 3. So it makes the combat still fairly balanced. The game itself now, what I can talk about other than just the prototype being what it is for right now, so don't quote me on the quality as well as don't rely on it as to whether or not this is a good game. The game itself is wonderful. It's based on betting. So you're trying to bet on whether or not your monsters are going to be better than your opponents, or your opponents are better. So if you know your opponent's got a really great monster and you know it's going to win, you might as well put a bet chip on there, because it's going to give you more cards in the future. Now, you don't want your opponent's monsters to win every fight, so because they're going to be getting victory points, and if they get those 20 points, they're going to win the game. So you want to avoid them winning too much, but allowing, knowing when you're not going to win a fight and lose a fight does make a huge difference in this game. As well as your equipment cards being negative and positive, and you can put an equipment card on your opponent's monster or put one on yours, which benefits it in some way, as well as additional victory points, because all of your point totals in your field, as well as your secured points from victories, count together for those points to win the game. Honestly, really fun game, really interesting, unique concept. The mechanics are wonderful. The strategy deck is huge. In fact, I would say even too big. Now, there is a bunch of other modes, so you can draft monsters, and there's other just different modes of play. So we played mainly the base game where you have your own pre-selected creature deck, and everybody has the same, so it makes it fair. But there is a lot of cards in this little stack here. These are little small cards. As you can see, there's 200 and something cards. And we never even got close to running out. Had you ran out, you could actually reshuffle them all in. If anything, I would say remove some of the strategy cards and add new creatures, if you'd like. But as far as the way the game plays, and how you can switch a monster out, and how you gain the cards from winning the bets, as well as fighting and helping your opponents that are lower and stopping your opponents that are higher in points while keeping yourself as high as you possibly can, is a really unique, interesting balancing act that is required for you to win UnderLeague. So wonderful. The replayability is there. There's so much content in this game. It is just a normal card game, so just cards and a couple betting chips and all that, but what is here as far as cards are concerned and the amount of gameplay is big. The amount of time the game requires to play is a little longer than probably what I would like. 45 minutes in a 2-player game, and it can go all the way up to like an hour and a half for this game. It gets a little long, just for my taste, but the game itself is good, and personally I think if you play enough, you're going to get better at the game. Turns going to get quicker, and it's going to get easier to play and understand. As for people picking the game up and learning it instantaneously, it takes about a half a game or so before you fully delve yourself into understanding the strategy. Once you do, the succeeding games after you play the first one are very fun and engaging. Overall, I'd rate this game a really high 7, maybe even an 8 as to how much I enjoy this card game. So, if you like the idea of a betting, fighting style game, which involves tons of cards and an underground pit of monsters, almost reminds me of a dog fight, really. The underground secret dog fights. Well, I don't attest to thinking that's a good idea. This game's theme works very well, and it's very fun to challenge your monsters in the underground pits of UnderLeague. Alright, so if you like this game, check out the description below. The Kickstarter should be up shortly. I suggest you check it out. Alright guys, thanks for watching another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter card game review. If you like this review and like to see more, go ahead and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. You know what to do. As well as checking out our website for even more additional content, where we have blog posts, Kickstarter lists, and giveaways, and more, as well as our live stream that goes on every Wednesday from 7 to 10. Don't forget as well to check out our affiliate websites, everythingboardgames.com and The Giveaway Geek, where you'll find even more giveaways and tons more blog post content. Alright guys, that's it for this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time.